Thank you and good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughan for Sam Sports Report. Mizzou rolls over South Carolina. At home, the Tigers had 6 players going double-doubles. Mizzou goes over 100. Caleb Grill gets 22. 9 of 11 from the court and 4 of 6 from the three-point line. You better watch out when it was hot. And that was the case as he scored 22. KU won on Monday. Kansas State will play UFC. Since they're not very good, Kansas State, we won't do much of a report on them, but tip-off is at 6. Basically the same teams. It is in UFC. UCF Fighting Knights are favored by 4.5. Michigan and Maryland will play today at 5:30. Again, K-State plays at 6 on ESPN+. Now we move on to schizoaffective and schizophrenia and what is the difference. We continue our show with Jake. First, let's get to what's the difference. Having symptoms, not having issues with drugs or medication, misuse, experiencing delusions and hallucinations without major mood episodes for 2 weeks or more, experiencing a period of doing which either mania or depression occurs at the same time as hallucinations or delusions. Have major episodes of moods, symptoms that occur a majority of the mental health disorder. Schizophrenia is a diagnostic. Schizophrenia is often difficult as factoring such as drugs used can produce similar symptoms. Additionally, people often do not believe they are living with the condition. No single lab test or diagnostic test can produce an effective diagnosis. Instead, the doctor will typically monitor the person's symptoms for at least 6 months. They will also need to rule out other potential causes of behavioral changes such as mood, brain tumor. A doctor typically diagnoses schizophrenia with the person displays 2 or more of the following: hallucinations, delusions, negative symptoms, catatonic or disorganized behavior, and disorganized speech. That's what schizophrenia is. And before we go to what schizoaffective is, it is also recommended you do not use hallucinogenics, for example, weed, if you have schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder.
This is just a quick informational video talking about how schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder are not the same thing. I'm Kit, and I'm diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which means that I experience symptoms of schizophrenia, such as delusions and hallucinations, but also symptoms of a mood disorder, such as bipolar or major depression. Now, schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder are both psychotic disorders on the schizophrenia spectrum. They both have the prefix of schizo and both have psychosis as a defining trait. However, they are 2 separate diagnostic entities, and in my opinion, they can't be used interchangeably. So I'm going to talk about some key points about schizophrenia first. Schizophrenia is characterized by psychotic symptoms such as hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking for a period of 1 month or longer. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5th edition, or the DSM-5, describes that this disturbance, meaning the episode, needs to last at least 6 months and can include prodromal or residual symptoms. Prodromal refers to the lead up to psychotic symptoms, while residual is the name for the period after the psychosis mostly goes away. So that 6-month period that is required for the diagnosis of schizophrenia doesn't necessarily mean that the person experiencing these things has to be psychotic for 6 months. In addition, a diagnosis of schizophrenia requires a decline in functioning, whether it's interpersonal relationships, self-care, or occupational issues that is far lower than what the person was doing before the onset of symptoms. A schizophrenia diagnosis also includes these things called negative symptoms, which is the name for things that should be there but aren't. So someone with these would experience maybe lack of emotion or lack of motivation. And of course, a side note is that things like hallucinations, delusions, and psychosis are things that are there that shouldn't be, so they're called positive symptoms. So in short, schizophrenia is dominated by psychotic symptoms. Schizoaffective disorder, on the other hand, is dominated by having mood disorder symptoms for the majority of the illness. The two kinds of schizoaffective disorder are the bipolar type, where the affective side of the condition resembles bipolar disorder, and the depressive subtype, where that affective side resembles major depressive disorder. And both types are characterized by having these mood symptoms for a majority of the time. The schizo side of schizoaffective disorder merely refers to the fact that psychosis does need to happen during mood states, but it also needs to happen when those mood states are gone for a period of 2 weeks or longer. For example, I've been hearing voices for years. We're talking since the 8th grade, and I'm 27 now as of making this video. And it's because I always had those voices, even in the absence of mood episodes, that gave me that diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder. And it's important to note that schizophrenia does not require any mood disturbance to be diagnosed with a condition. And in a similar vein, schizoaffective disorder does not require a decline in functioning in order to be diagnosed. And negative symptoms in schizoaffectives are treated similarly. They're not required for diagnosis, but they can still be present. I think my main frustration with people using schizoaffective and schizophrenia interchangeably is that if I was to call myself schizophrenic, I would be denying the overwhelming mood portion of my illness. The affective side of my disorder, I'm the bipolar type, wreaks the most havoc for me. I can handle my psychotic symptoms pretty well, but when I'm in a manic episode, my entire life falls apart. So saying that I have schizophrenia just doesn't fit, you see? I'd just be missing an entire half of the disorder. So to me, they aren't the same thing at all. Like, yes, as someone with schizoaffective disorder, I have elements of schizophrenia, but I'm not schizophrenic. I'm schizoaffective. My mania and my depression are what I feel the most. It's what I struggle with the most. And in a similar vein, even though I do meet criteria for bipolar 1 disorder, I can't say I'm just bipolar because I'm not. I still have that psychosis. So at the end of the day, as hard as it is to explain to people, schizoaffective is what I've got. It's my only true option, and I'm okay with that. So that's my opinion. What's yours? I know plenty of people use the terms interchangeably, and honestly, I want to know why. And I'm not going to get angry with you if you do use them interchangeably, and I'd much rather hear your perspective than get upset. The internet truly is a great place to share viewpoints. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me in making the uncomfortable comfortable. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Have you ever had to think about going back to the hospital since?
Yeah, it's usually when I'm being too hard on myself. Like, there's no symptoms that are out of control or anything. I can manage them for the most part pretty well. But when I hard on myself, I say I need to go back to the hospital when there's really no issue with what's going on. It's like if I make a mistake or something, I'm too hard on myself. But
Do you talk to somebody about that, or usually?
yeah, I talk to my parents about it and my psychiatrist.
And they usually tell you you don't need to go?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, other than that, I manage them pretty well. I'm just fortunate enough that my medications usually work. So
For me, I have to go back probably about every other year. A lot of times it's because my body doesn't tolerate mood medications well. So I've had 6 or 7 different reactions to mood medications, such as like swallowing the lips, hand curling,
canker sores.
canker sores. It can cut off airwaves if you would. Eventually, it can. So you just have to watch out for that stuff. I wouldn't say be overly obsessive about it, but once you see something like blisters on your lips or something that you notice is different, curling of the hands, contact your doctor. That's all
Absolutely.
I have to say.
Like tardive dyskinesia kind of thing where your hands are moving, involuntary movements.
Yeah, contact your doctor. Some of them go away, some of them don't. So just contact your doctor, and if you want to look it up, but make sure you contact your doctor about the.
Okay, I don't want to interfere with your script, but I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Is there medication for tardive dyskinesia specifically? I'm just curious. I don't have any issues with it or anything. I just wanted to know.
So typically what they're going to tell you is take Benadryl.
Benadryl.
And see if that goes away. if you need to go to the hospital, you can, but it's not like they can do much for you at that point. I mean, they're gonna put you on Benadryl, wait a few days and see if it goes away. Is usually what they've told me to do. Benadryl's not gonna hurt, right? I mean, if you can even take it during the day, you may have to nap or you may have to lay down or whatever. But and then some people it's almost like a panic attack. Or they take like a medicine and it might be a type of a seizure. Um, with that, they say take a medicine, and that might happen every day or every couple days.
I
That's
saw that the watching this would know about that.
but yeah,